Hey, what's up guys? I'm Coach Tiggity. Today we're taking a look at a Hanzo on King's Row who ate maybe a few too many fire strikes throughout the course of the game. It really just boils down to poor positioning. You'll see all that in the VOD. If you guys like this type of stuff, be sure to like the video, sub to my YouTube channel, all that good stuff. And if you want to get your own gameplay reviewed, check out my Twitch stream down in the links below where I'm giving away free coaching sessions just like this one to all my viewers in Twitch chat. So tune in, maybe you'll be the next one on YouTube here. Enjoy the video. Alright, so what do we got here? We are in Platinum 3, we're playing DPS, we're on PC. Want to work with my timing and my aim, don't we all? This whole match kind of had me in such a bad position being Plat in the Diamond lobby, but it went well. I feel like I had many missed picks. And our in-game name is Locks on the Hanzo. Let's get right into it. Ooh. I like the early aggressive position, but we ate a fire strike unnecessarily. Maybe we get out there just a little bit faster when we see them charging in. Oh, we're in the thick of it. Ooh. So one of the best parts about Hanzo is the fact that he can take high ground pretty much whenever he wants. Whenever you're forced to back off a point there at the beginning, would have loved to see you back out and either climb up to this window here just to stay out of Ryan's range above anyone else, or even like over here if you have the time. But obviously we kind of just got steamrolled there, so only so much you can do. Oh, we are eating fire strikes for breakfast. Thank you, Moira. Very generous. I like this off angle. I think this is fine. Good response to the Tracer as well. We love Storm Arrows for that reason. Oh! Oh my goodness, the sleep dart. Good surviving there. Forced the Tracer out, and obviously our team was doing work without us. Again, in these types of positions, because we had Moira there, it was fine, but we never want to be in a position where we find ourselves truly isolated against, especially double flanker like a Genji Tracer on the enemy team. So even just noticing enemy team composition can change the way we position. Either, again, fire strike for breakfast. Either closer to our teammates where we know they can support our plays, or in areas of the map where we have longer sight lines or it's harder for them to access us. So high grounds against Tracer, stuff like that. Another fire strike added to the collection. Oh, wow. Get down, Mr. President. Ryan takes the arrow. This should be fine with Ryan down. Not bad shot. I like that you're not getting too far forward here. I know you want to take that window for some more damage, but you're worried about the Genji. Understandable. You're hitting good shots. Backing up here against the Coalescence, obviously. Ryan goes down. Hopefully we survive this. This might be risky. Okay, yeah. Get to the other side of the road here. Closer to our Ana. Again, I'd love to see you taking these high grounds. That spot right above where our Genji is right now. Tracer and Ryan cannot do anything about that position. We still have to worry about Genji, but we can always jump away from him. Going with the Dragon to help support our Genji who got shattered. Looks like it's working out. I like your timing on Dragons a lot. You are reading fight initiations well. I think you're basing it mainly on when other people are using ultimates, and that's absolutely fine. Starting a fight with Hanzo Dragon is only really useful if you're forcing someone out of a really strict position. So if they're all like grouped up, like in this bookstore, for example, you can drag in them and force them out of there. But otherwise, it's usually best used in a situation where you're either denying space during an ongoing engagement, or you're comboing it with something else that's causing people to react a certain way. If they're already running away from the Dragon Blade, it's going to be hard for them to also run away from your Dragon Strike. Plus, you know, you got the Genji, Hanzo, Shimada Brothers buff. Again, this position, the sightlines are basically the same as if you were standing above Pub there, above the Mega Pack. And you'd be able to use high ground away from the Tracer Reinhardt, and you'd be able to use longer sightlines against the Genji. Well, they're not on Tracer anymore, they're against their Bastion. But again, much easier to avoid all those targets when we have slight positional advantages like that. We are Hanzo, we're a sniper, kind of. And so we want those long sightlines, we want high grounds whenever we can take them. Keep in mind, we can always give them up. We don't need to be married to that position. We don't need to be chained to it or anything like that. But starting there gives us more options and gives us more time to react to different types of threats. Another fire strike for the collection. I think that was a fire strike. Overall, our damage output's looking pretty good. We're not hitting like every headshot, but no Hanzo does. We're hitting a lot of important damage in though. Again, right here, this is your time to take positioning. We're going to talk a little bit more about pre-fight positioning now and sort of look at moments where you have opportunities to go for better position, and we're kind of just defaulting into these main lane areas. We're going to talk about lane theory after this bottom as well, I believe. Dragon here. Again, if they're already reacting to the Nano Rhine, now Bastion's isolated. I'm really upset our Rhine didn't go on that Bastion, but hey, we get the kill anyway. But yeah, the more we add chaos to those engagements, the easier it is for us to find value, for our dragons to find value, and for our team to be able to use the pressure of the dragon to further their own success. It doesn't matter if the dragon even does a single point of damage or not, if the enemy is forcibly reacting to it. Oh yeah, this engagement would be so much more structured, I think, if we learn to develop side angles a little bit more. And again, we'll talk about angles and lanes and stuff like that. But in that example, as our team is pushing up main, imagine if you just went up to the left stairs, you got your double jump, you can get there faster than other DPS, like a Cassidy, for example. And you can get to that position and use that long sight line. As your team is collapsing down main, you can hit them from the off angle and just make your damage more unique and more valuable for the engagement. Another fire strike. What are we at, 12? Ooh, scary, but we survive it. Don't be afraid to ping your supports for healing if you need to. Sometimes they're just, you're behind them and they don't know. This Moira in particular, obviously, she's a short-range healer. She's in front of you. It can be hard to notice those things. But we are dominating so far. We got this position now because our team is playing up. You're reading fight zones well as they're starting, but you're still not taking positions like this often enough. So I think you're reading tempo really, really well, but there's still more we can be doing positionally to make sure that we are as safe as possible and finding more important damage and ending up with less Genjis in our faces, hopefully. We're at 9? Okay. All right, we might be hard to touch here if our Rhine got an overtime spawn. I can't tell. Yeah, I don't think we're gonna be touching this unless we get like a big pick or Nano Blade cleans them up. It might be difficult. Let's see. Yeah. I guess we touch and we Nano Blade, but miracles are not happening today. I like the idea. Oh, and obviously we weren't prepared for the Rhine shatter. It happens. We're at 10. I'll excuse you if you're standing still for a dragon animation or on the ground shattered. Don't worry. Again, just start thinking about positions that are going to be more unique to what Hanzo can do that other DPS can't, and that the enemy will have a hard time dealing with, aka the high ground to your right, or the high ground that Genji is fighting for right now. It's not that it's impossible for them to deal with. Hey, here we go. It's that it's annoying for them to deal with. And look at this. Look how you're wearing an invisibility cloak right now. Well, not when you're Reinstead, but for the first like couple shots you had there was literally zero pressure on you, just because we were slightly on the outside of the fight looking in. And this is a very tight section of the map, right? There's not like huge flanks you're gonna go on, but little high grounds like that, little side angles is what you're gonna find a ton of success with if you abuse them often enough. We jump onto the point, nice little headshot, but obviously, at least we got them sub 1 minute, right? So as long as we cap the point, we'll get a second chance. All right, we're on attack now, still on the Hanzo. I like Hanzo a lot on King's Row. I think these sight lines and high grounds are nearly perfect for his kit. Side quests always get me too. Nice little sleep dart. Ooh, get down, Mr. President. Well, we forced Suzu. And look at us. Just being on the high ground means we avoid one more fire strike. Just little things like that that just prove to be beneficial 9 times out of 10. There will, of course, be situations where taking the high ground or taking off angle is the wrong choice, but it's not a bad way to default and then change when you get punished or when the situation changes. Ooh, little scary shooting into the deflect there. We gave him a sonic arrow for free. Hey, what's up, Zenset? Big fan, big fan. And you know, as the ranged DPS, sometimes we get caught on objective duty. It happens. This is exactly how I want you playing. Using that high ground until it becomes too risky, and then defaulting back to a safer position. But now I also want to see you retaking that high ground if it makes sense to. So we're nanoblading. Here we don't need to because we can just follow our Genji in. Oh, so close to that one shot. Fighting our inner demons for a moment. But it's working out. That was like so many ults. How's it going? No issues? No, no issues then. Everything's working perfectly. Damn, you've been grinding yourself. Ooh, another one for the books. That was our own Fire Strike this time. That one's a shiny Fire Strike. We're gonna collect them all. This is a perfect situation. We even have 4 people on cart. Completely unnecessary. Yeah, side angle. Let's go. Going for a dragon. This one might be a bit early. It doesn't seem easy for our team to push into this. But it does force the Kiriko rush. But, oh, okay, we get right up in their business. We're loading our shotgun arrows. We find relative success, but again, obviously so much more risk involved when we're that close to the team fight.
I cannot give up yet.
The payload needs to be moved.
I'll find them.
Your end is within my reach.
All right, waiting for another push. We got so much time on the clock. We should still have plenty of chances to cap the second point. I like the safe angle you're taking. Obviously, like, you're not going to get too much more from being in the window, but we could be looking for it, if anything. All right, taking down the raid boss turrets. Right here, top left, top right where your Genji was. This is okay because we're applying the maximum amount of pressure by moving forward, but if something bad happens, like a fire strike comes through and hits us in the face, then we're not going to have as many options to avoid it. Ooh, another one. 2 for 2. And then a Reinhardt swing for good measure as well. So again, just being in the middle of the action like this, it makes it easier to land shots. And it's a very common bad habit for a lot of like backline range DPS and support players to gravitate towards the fight and towards their targets. So when that happens, it's not because you're making a bad decision, it's because you're not making any decisions. And the only thing that's going to prevent you from doing that is recognizing all the other possibilities that are available to you other than W mouse 1. Ooh, Ryan going down. Unfortunately, this is a decent dragon to stop them from approaching if we need to take this fight or if they were overexposed. Which, I mean, they decided to charge right into it, so we punished them. Risky-ish dragon, I would say, but hey, it works out. We'll take it. Following our... Man, we got keen eyes. Look at us isolating these turrets. Again, right here, even though we don't see anyone ready to touch, just get off the payload. The floor is lava right here. But unfortunately, our brother has fallen. Another fire strike, please. General rule of thumb that we'll cover it in just a moment after we get through this gameplay here is you want to start outside the fight when it's starting, and then it's relatively okay to collapse into the fight if we're winning, but not if we're losing. The only time you want to do that if we're losing is if, like, you know you're going to die anyway and you're just trying to, like, trade out a kill, which should not be a high priority.
I will persevere.
Payload stuck. Get it moving.
Ooh, big counterpin. This could be a massive pick. Oh, but that's a big Dragon Blade too. Oh, and another Fire Strike. So the reason I'm bringing up all these fire strikes is because they're the most obvious thing that's punishing your position. It's not that like you're failing to avoid the fire strike, which I mean like you are a little bit. There are definitely some that are avoidable. It's just the fact that your position being, for lack of a better word, so basic, it leads you to being more vulnerable against fire strikes or any sorts of like AoE frontline damage like that. Ryan swings being another one. Ooh. Vertical aim is hard for sure. At this range, by the way, you can think of Hanzo basically as a hit scan character. You don't need to worry too much about leading shots at that range. Again, snowballing positioning here could be huge. We don't need to be up in their spawn room, but get up in this high ground, get some scouting in, throw a deep sonic, see what we can get done, and then back up. Oh my goodness. Oh! Almost lived that. That would have been huge if we could drag in after that. But again, us being on the payload in front of the objective leads to us getting shattered. Either play more range, because we're Hanzo, we have range, or play more side angles, high ground, stuff like that we can take easily as our character. Fight's still going on, so we throw a late dragon in. People use these Hail Mary dragons all the time, especially if you think your team is like about to die. I think that's a fine commitment. We just didn't have any information, so it's unlikely for us to guarantee success there, but there's a chance. I understand what we were going for. Oh yeah, look at this position. We're not even on Ryan's radar. He's not even gonna see us with a fire strike. And we get the closing kill on Genji as well. Well done. Well, one whole second behind. Catastrophic difference in time bank right now. I don't know if we're ever going to make up for that. Looks like nothing's changing too much, so should be a similar battlefield. Let's see if anything changes in terms of our playstyle, though. Being only 1 minute, well, obviously our number one priority is trying to cap first point, right? So we're going to be willing to commit 5 ults if that's what it takes. If we can build 5 ults in a minute, that is. But it also means that any unnecessary deaths or stuff like that will feel even more punishing because of such a limiting time bank. Nice headshot on the Rhine, forces the Suzu. Nice shooting. Positioning arguably could have been called a little bit aggressive, but I think you were more than fine. It's not like they have easy ways, especially without ultimates, to aggress past that statue. And you had your Rhine in front of you the whole time. Oh my god. Oh, I was gonna say, did we just dodge 2 fire strikes? But we dodged the 1 at least. Ooh. Scary, yeah. That's a nice shot from the Ana, what can I say? Hopefully we'll be back on time before the fight wipes. Question mark. We didn't get an overtime spawn, and we are so close to the objective, and yeah, we are dominating this fight. We should be fine. Unless something insane happens right now. Oh my god, that Rhine really lived with 1 HP. Again, I know we want to be married to the payload, but we don't need to be. Not with our range, not with our kit, and not with 3 other people on the payload with us. Ooh, that was almost a headshot. I don't know if it was fully charged, though. So yeah, top right here, push out that sim. Top left right here, stay safe from the Rhine. Ooh, big shatter. Oh, no! Okay, we got our 1. We got our 2. Another one. Oh, so close. 1 HP on that Kiriko. My goodness. A nice cap here. Sometimes we do a little bit of gambling as Hanzo. You know, we run the slot machine. And sometimes it pays out. We have Dragon here. Bit early, I'm afraid. We could have basically pushed the payload a little bit more for free or waited for them to try and commit something like this Nano before guaranteeing value from the Dragon. They forced the play anyway, so it kind of splits them, but I think we could be more patient there. Ooh, let's hope we don't C9. We're up in this fight, and they used everything. Nice shooting. Your Stormbow has been finding a ton of value this game. Very patient. We're going fishing. Our vertical aiming might need a little bit of work. Our crosshair placement's a little bit high. As I say that, we land a very clean headshot. But then walk right into a Junkrat. Woo! On there. It's working out. Again, left or right here. Plenty of space. Probably not right because we don't get stuck by the Junkrat, but we could turn left, or we could just play range off the payload. Keep ourselves out of danger. Make sure we can react to our targets and stuff like that. We are dominating with these bow shots right now, too. See? Even though we were still a little bit too close there, just the fact that we weren't grouped up so close to the objective helps us avoid that shatter, allows us to keep doing damage and push back against that resource being used. And we cap. Who's got 1 extra second now? All right, we're in for it, boys and girls.
5, 4, 3, 2,
Deltron, yo, what's up?
1. Attackers incoming.
I like this position a lot more than our original position on first point. Let's see if we keep it. What I'm worried is you're going to start at this position, recognize it's a good position, and then get distracted by damage and drop down to your team. You know what? If we find kills doing it, I'm not mad. Another fire strike, please. Ooh. But, yeah. Could have gotten out of there as soon as we got our first pick. Could have gone to a more aggressive position, even back on the top left. Maybe wrapped around if we see our Rhine pushing in. But, that's fine. We got our 1, and we're holding first. Well, we're not holding first because there's 5 minutes left on this replay, but at least for now, we've held first. Let's see if we can get back on time. Probably going to take the window here. I'd love to see you wrapping left right now. I think you have a bit of a mental block where if you see the opportunity to do damage and to try and outplay someone, you mentally tell yourself that that's what you have to do. And again, that's either because you are playing with a gigantic ego and you think you're going to outplay everyone, or because you're just not making active decisions and it's 99% of the time that second option. I'm not trying to say you have a huge ego. So the only reason you're doing this is because you're not thinking to do anything else. It's because this is the easiest thing to possibly do. Walk at an enemy and shoot them in the head. We are swapping to the Echo here, probably because we see them on junk and we want to avoid all that spam with our nice verticality. Again, keep in mind, Hanzo's range and his wall climb can also keep him away from that kind of spam, but I don't hate the Echo pick here either. Also, very potentially strong ultimate that can team wipe. Not through a Rhine shield with our beam, though. Oh, that's a really nice shatter. Failing to lead our shots a little bit there. Echo shots are hard, I get it. Again, the way we're landing, I describe this kind of movement as like boomerang movement. You're throwing the boomerang in terms of your position, you're flying up and above, but then you're returning back exactly to where you were. I want you to be more fluid and in and out and hit and run kind of nature with your aggression, where it's not always the safest or smartest option to go back to where you started, but you need to be able to read the context changing. If your Rhine gets 3 kills and charges into their backline, maybe you can even keep going forward and still be safe that way. Or maybe we can control side space like we are over here instead of falling back to our team and then create more unique threat angles as a DPS member. We go for the copy on the Cassidy here. I like the copy Cassidy on this angle, to be honest. I think pretty much anyone could have been a decent copy target there. But unfortunately, without our team to fight around us, we're not able to get much done. And we're staying in the fight a little bit long. We're getting that overtime panic brain going on a little bit here, where we think we need to make something happen 24/7. We just need one good fight. And the fact that we're staggering with our ults and with our deaths and with our positions and stuff like that tells me that we are a little bit too stressed. All right, coming back on our signature pick, the Hanzo. We're avoiding the high noon. Ooh, spooky. All right, big counterpin. Ooh, cast is 1. Tire finds 1. We're still in it. We're still in it. Again, we do not need to be on the payload here. We have our Rhine here. But that's okay. We had enough ults. We cleaned it up. Okay. There's literally one thing I'm going to talk about, but it's going to take a while. So, this is going to be all about positioning. Your mechanics, your decision-making, generally fine. I liked the way you were playing Hanzo. I didn't like the positions you were forced into because of your lack of pre-fight decision-making. So, every time a fight ends, we go through a checklist in our brain. So what does it mean when a fight ends? When we're not actively shooting at anyone, and when we don't need to be on the payload, if we're not like the only one pushing the payload and stuff like that. So every time a fight ends, we go through a checklist. We ask ourselves, win or lose, we go through a checklist. We ask ourselves, okay, where's the next fight going to happen? Let's say we just capped first point, 9 times out of 10, it's going to happen right here, right? So now that we know where the fight is going to happen, we ask ourselves, how am I, as a DPS member, going to create a situation where I can either do enough damage to find a kill, or if not a kill, the next best thing, force enemy defensive reactions. That can mean either them backing away from their current positions, making them burn through some of their resources, maybe like breaking a Rhine shield, which we don't always force as Hanzo, but it's something we can play for. Or we just force them to use defensive cooldowns, like if they have a Kiriko Suzu, we make them use that. Even if we can't get a kill, the more of those important defensive resources we can force, the more we bleed that out of them, the more damage we do that goes unanswered, aka we're not dying because of these kinds of trades we're going for, the less staying power the enemy team has. And unless they've got like 5 ultimates to use or something like that, eventually you will bleed them dry and be able to push them out of the way. Or they'll back up and they'll open up their heads for arrow shots and stuff like that. So there's 2 ways we can do this. We can overwhelm them in the front line. So imagine our Rhine's trying to push their Rhine out of the way. Not very easy, but if we have Bastion and Junkrat and their Rhine has Tracer and Sombra and they're both sitting back here just spraying, whose Rhine shield's gonna break first, right? If we just have so much more damage that we can just front load everything and roll over them, then we don't need to think about positioning. We just walk forward and do more damage than them, and it's up to them to outplay our cooldowns and our damage commitments and stuff like that. But if it's not that clear of an advantage, like we're playing Hanzo Genji, they're playing Cass Junkrat, it's not 100% certain who's going to win in the front line every time, then we play for angles, which Hanzo and Genji are both pretty good at. Hanzo can get up here, shoot past the Rhine shield. And again, it's not that you need to break the Rhine shield, but if you force their supports to back up, and Rhine's not getting healing anymore, well, guess what? Rhine's going to want to back up too. Or maybe we take an angle over here. We shoot at Rhine himself, and he can't block both here and here. So he says to himself, okay, well, I'm going to move over here to deal with the Hanzo. Oh, wait, that lets the Rhine in. The floodgates are open. Or he says, okay, I can't block either of these things at the same time, so I'm going to back up and hold my shield. Now my shield's blocking both things, but guess what? Now he's not contesting the choke anymore. And again, we can walk forward, group over their team, do the same thing later down the road. The times where we can overwhelm them, I want you to think about your dragon plays. If Rhine is, they're sitting 5 people right here. There's Rhine, Mei, Bastion. Anyone who steps forward is just gonna die to all this front-loaded damage. Well then, maybe it's too risky to go for a play over here, or maybe we just have our ultimate, we want to try that instead. Then yeah, we can overwhelm them because we have more resources than we generally have whenever our ultimate's charged. But that's not every single case. And like I said, I generally like your ult usage, so I don't want to cover that too much. But when we're in these pre-fight situations, I want you to find these creative answers a little bit more. And again, keep in mind, it's not about getting here, getting a kill, backing out. Sometimes it is. If we're lucky we land a headshot, sure, why not? But it's about applying pressure in a unique way, again, by finding your own angle that's not the same as where your Rhine wants to walk or where your Genji's on the flank or something like that. Because the more unique angles the enemy has to deal with, the more stressful it is and the less value their defensive resources get. Rhine's shield is a perfect example. If Rhine's getting hit in 3 different directions, he can only block one of them. But if he's getting hit by 5 people in the front line, his shield stocks just went to the moon, right? It's the best ability in the game. So we need to take a little bit of time in these pre-fights. As soon as we recognize the fight is over, as soon as we recognize that we have time to go for these positions, then we go for them immediately. And guess what? 9 times out of 10, it's not going to pay off. But you need to build these habits so that when it does pay off, you're already here. You're not thinking about it. Because right now, you're not thinking about positioning, and you're ending up here, leaving you only one option. And when that one option doesn't work out because they have more ults, we eat too many fire strikes, I get headshot, I don't land enough shots myself, there's so many variables here that don't allow this to work out. If we're not playing this way purposefully and for specific reasons, then we end up kind of like autopiloting, we end up in the front line, and we end up not able to keep up with a lot of fast-moving variables in the middle of these fights. So that's the first thing. Pre-fight setups, making sure we have a position that benefits our ability to push. That's basically what I'm talking about there. Second thing about general positioning about any backline hero is lane theory. So we're zooming all the way out. We're going up into the stratosphere. this is the path that the objective takes. It's not a straight line, but we call this the main lane. This is where most of the fights are going to happen. You're probably going to have a fight here, maybe a fight here. Fights here are pretty common. Of course, stalling fights on the payload right before it caps. These are all very common situations. So this is what we call the main lane. You're going to have presence in the main lane as both attackers and defenders, because you need to push the objective and defenders need to stop the objective. So stuff is always going to happen here. If it doesn't, then Team C9. But as a damage dealer, when you want to do more than just push the objective, which you want to do most of the time, I should hope, then the safest and most valuable and most effective position you can take is anywhere but the main lane. So even a tight map like King's Row, there's not like crazy flank routes or super long sight lines on King's Row. We can identify a few side lanes, right? We have all these areas here on the high ground, on the side lane here, and stuff like this, that can all see the main lane, but won't be in the thick of it themselves. And of course, on the other side too, we have like this sort of side angle here, these flank routes over here, all this high ground up here, yada, yada, yada. So if we stay outside of the main lane, two things are going to happen. We're going to passively avoid more damage. All those fire strikes we got hit by, we don't get hit by a single one of them if we're not following this pink line. But also, the damage we find is going to be more unique. Because again, they're already thinking about fighting here and stopping the payload and all these kinds of things that lead them to the main lane. Tanks especially love the main lane. But if you take their attention away from it, it makes them harder for them to figure out what they need to be doing. So you're going to be poking them from the side here, you're going to be getting up behind them and stuff like that. Well, maybe not 180 degrees behind them as Hanzo or stuff like that, but you get the idea. The more interesting positions you can take here to force their reactions makes it not only harder for them to deal with you, but makes it like it takes away their options. And most people at the rank you're playing at, all the way up until Masters, if I'm being perfectly honest, they're going to like 5-stack in the main lane like every other game. They're just going to play there because that's where the objective is, and a lot of players think that just touching the objective is their job. So to abuse that, get outside their range. And again, the best part about all this is that even if you fail to find a kill from a position like this, again, let's imagine a fight happening right here in this corner bookstore. They're got a Ryan holding the corner here, and you take an angle over here. You know what? This is a better example over here because this is one we actually went for as Hanzo. Their Ryan is holding the corner. Our Ryan is pushing up. They're butting heads, but we have a unique angle over here where we can maybe shoot past the Ryan shield into his backline, or hit the Ryan himself if he overextends and stuff like that, or use Dragon to split the Ryan from his team. Lots of different playmaking potentials situations from this position down here. Even if you miss every single shot, guess what the enemy backline is thinking? Oh shit, I don't want to get hit by Hanzo, I'm going to play back. Right? Oh shit, I don't want to peek that long angle, I'm on it. What am I going to do against Hanzo at this range, right? I'm Cassidy, he outranges me. All this kind of stuff. But Ryan's thinking, okay, I can still block for myself. Maybe I can get aggressive because I think I can bully their Ryan. And guess what? Like, their Hanzo's not even doing damage to me. Even if you're not doing any points of damage from right here, it passively splits their attention. And when they split their attention, it leads to more situations where we can overwhelm the Ryan in like a 2v1. Or maybe your Genji finds a dive on the backline because one person played back and the other person wanted to play forward with the Ryan. Little things like that happen all the time when we can basically create chaos in these situations where the enemy thinks they've got a structured setup. Oh, this is easy. The payload's right here. Just hold the payload, guys. It's simple. Just don't let them push the payload. And then they sit 5 people on this one angle, and then the moment they get stressed out by something like this on these outside lanes, they start thinking, oh, we can't just put 100% of our attention on the payload? Well, what the hell are we supposed to do? Everybody panic, and they all run in 50 different directions. So that's how we create advantages as a DPS, just by changing our positioning before the fight starts. If we get here too late, if the fight already starts, and we're like still rotating here, then the enemy team has a chance to take a 5v4. So we need to recognize when that fight ends and take this position as soon as possible. If we take this fight, or if we take this position mid-fight, then again, the same thing can happen, or we risk taking ourselves out of the fight where position might change and they might actually focus on us instead of the team, and then we might end up completely isolated and get picked off ourselves. So recognizing when that pre-fight happens and finding an advantageous position to make sure not that we hit every single shot, but that we can put up safe damage that's unique to our character, to our situation, to our context of the fight, the more value we're going to find even just passively. And I promise you, you're going to be taking less damage, and you're going to be doing more meaningful damage as well. So that was a bit of a rant about positioning. I hope that all made sense about lane theory and all that kind of stuff. Basically, every map in Overwatch is boiled down into that kind of like 3-lane setup. Main lane where the objective goes, side lanes on either side looking into it. And as a backline DPS member like Hanzo, 99 times out of 100 even, you want to be on that outside looking in. It is fine to fall back in there, again, if you're getting pushed out, or if you just got like 2 picks and you just want to stay 5 stacks so you don't take any damage, sure. But to start the fight, to start with an advantage, that's what you're looking for. Whew! Thank you, Lox, for the VOD. Hope that was helpful. This was a hell of a game. Well played. And yeah, best of luck in all your future games. It felt like I had main character syndrome and just stayed in main. Again, it's not like you're choosing to do that. It's that you're focusing on doing damage rather than you're focusing on finding an advantage. And that's DPS syndrome in a nutshell. So best of luck. I hope that helps. Try and keep that focus on positioning whenever you can, because your mechanics are solid. You mentioned wanting help with your mechanics. You were hitting good shots. You weren't hitting every shot. No one does. And you were sometimes walking into fire strikes. But overall, like, you were doing really good damage. I wouldn't be surprised if you had top damage in the lobby. But we can do even more, and we can do it for longer and safely. That's what we're looking for. All right. I'm going to call it there. Thank you so much, Lox. Best of luck to you.